Meta is urging its underage Australian customers to get ready for the country's ban on devices.
Meta has started notifying young Australians to download their digital histories and delete their accounts from Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. This comes ahead of a new law banning social media for those under 16. The Australian government announced that platforms including Snapchat, TikTok, and YouTube must comply with age restrictions by December 10th. Meta on Thursday became the first to outline its compliance plan, contacting young users via SMS and email. The messages warn that access will be deleted from December 4th. Keith Peters, Washington.
The FAA says only 776 of the nearly 20,000 air traffic controllers and technicians who had to work without pay during the shutdown will be receiving bonuses, those checks, for about $10,000. More on these stories at townhall.com.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, Mike Ferguson here. And for nearly 40 years, Nutrition Stop has been St. Peter's trusted source for natural living. They've got a great, knowledgeable staff offering more than just products. They provide guidance on your wellness journey with exceptional service, from 100% grass-fed meats like elk and bison and local produce to quality supplements and clean household products. 4101 Mexico Road in St. Peter's, just off the interstate at Cave Springs and Highway 70.
Looking for a fresh eating alternative for you and your family? Head on over to CJ's Restaurant and Bar in O'Fallon. CJ's literally offers something for everyone, from young to old. We're a casual American eatery with a wide-ranging menu of pastas, salads, and sandwiches, all served in a comfortable, warm environment with a family-friendly atmosphere. From vegetarian options to hearty classics. We offer dine-in, carry-out, catering, and even have a banquet room for your special events. Come see us or visit us on the web at cjsofallon.com.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serving St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
Chris Cooper here, Serenity Wealth Management, and November is Long-Term Care Awareness Month. It's a great reminder to put plans in place for the care we and our loved ones deserve. We deserve it. We need to make sure we put plans in place accordingly. It is the conversation we will have this Sunday featuring special guests Megan and Lisa of the Avalon Parks Independent Living Communities. Sunday morning for Serenity Wealth Now, or check us out on Serenity Wealth Now social media outlets.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Overcast skies and some spotty rain through this evening. Temperatures are kind of stalled in the mid-50s under those cloudy skies. And we're looking at lows tonight in the 40s to near 50 degrees with a daytime high tomorrow in the 50s. And by Sunday, we're in the 60s with lots of sunshine over the weekend. It's going to turn colder for Thanksgiving, though. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of Colombo & Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
And welcome to Colombo and Company. Welcome to Colombo and Company right here on News Talk STL. Tony is out today, so I am attempting to fill the seat, fill the shoes, do the best I can with my shaped head, as they say. My name's Crane Durham, and joining me in studio, I'm not in studio, but this man is You know him, the co-host of the Vic Porcelli show. Also, he's described himself as a Thunder Stealer.
Yes.
His name, Ken Williams.
And
Hey,
I'm
Ken,
trying
how
real
are
hard
you?
not to thunder steal right now.
Yeah, it's good to know. Good to know.
Hey, Crane.
Yes,
It's great.
to be
It's great
with
to be
you.
here, man.
Big week. I guess we don't have much to talk about, right?
Oh my goodness. It's crazy. It's great you bring that up because as the executive producer of a show here on News Talk STL, it used to be, 10 years ago, you'd go, man, let's find out. I don't know. What can we talk about? Okay, maybe we can talk about this, maybe that. Now you have to decipher through all this stuff and take the top of the stories because the other stories are great, but they're just not quite as good as the other ones.
Yeah, it is literally trying to drink from the fire hose. And to give a preview of what's ahead, we are going to be talking about immigration, the lies of immigration. We are going to talk about the Ukraine deal or no deal. And Jasmine Crockett, is she telling the truth? And does she have an IQ above room temperature? That's the question. All right. But we Ken, I want to ask you the big news this hour and this day, this Friday, November 21st, is the upcoming meeting minutes away. President Trump and Mayor-elect Mamdani.
Yes.
So I got to ask you, what would you ask Mamdani?
What would if I was sitting here next to him?
Yeah,
or
right
across
there.
from
You're
him?
right there. You're in the
Oh,
conversation.
man.
We're
Oh.
hanging out.
So, did you really mean that you were going to have free grocery stores? Did you really tell the truth when you were going to have free transportation for people? I mean, come on.
Yeah, it is nuts. And I guess my question would be how, and he would say, how are you going to do any of this? And then he's going to say, with other people's money. And do you think that's going to change people's behavior? Or we can go to the law and order. Who knows? But the idea that we have a communist or a self-described, but let's give him the socialist name label, and people are cheering that, tells me that we have a very, very poor and ill-informed mainstream media. Because literally, Ken, if we go and we're asking him questions, just like you did you mean this? Free grocery stores, right? Did you mean it? And if so, how are you going to fund it? And what happens when the behavior changes? I don't think it's hard to put down and show how communism has failed, socialism has failed, the political system of communism has failed, and it continues to fail today. And we shouldn't be celebrating it just by a read of 20th century history. The end of history in that sense, it proved it. So, Ken, what is going on when we see people celebrating socialists?
Yeah, it's primarily the young people who have never experienced even the education of socialism and what it truly means and what it truly brings to the table. I think Crane, that's the big thing is you've got a lot of people who are young and they just have never they should have been educated to it, but they never have been, and therefore it's, hey, free stuff sounds good, Crane. I mean, when he actually, and the reason why I brought up, did you really mean what you said about that is because as soon as he was elected mayor of New York City, Mamdani did say, well, I know I said not to give money, but I need money now. So he changed that stance immediately. And then people are saying there's rumor going around saying, oh, well, he was saying that to get elected about the grocery stores and transportation and having rent controlled housing for everybody, which is a horrible idea, by the way. It's been proven. It's been proven wrong. But then you have all this stuff that you can deal with him. And did he really mean it, or did he say it to get elected? Because I'll be quite honest with you. He's not only communist, but he's also Islam.
Yeah, Islamist, absolutely. And we've seen that in his past and the people connected with him that he supports. And that, I guess that goes to the big elephant in the room, and it is the Islamist socialist connection. And we used to call this the Red-Green Alliance. It was more climate change and the commies, right?
Right.
And then you have the Islamists. And when we see these types of government advance, it's not good. There's not a victory. There's not like, hey, I want to show you all the successes of these countries that have gone this route.
Yeah.
Let's start with Iran. Okay. So you see that, and I see that, and the vast majority of people who are listening right now have lived through it, because we lived through the 20th century, latter half, and had the Cold War draw a contrast between South Korea and North Korea. We can go down the line, Eastern Europe, Western Europe. The idea that we keep this forwarding this idea, and they say the Islamist threat, I don't see that covered on mainstream networks, but
No,
there's a lot of news to cover there.
Right, and you're not going to. But here's the thing, okay? With socialism and communism, it's always this: the young people that don't know anything about it, they don't try to know anything about it. No one's teaching them anything about it, but they always say to the younger people, "No, it's going to work this time. Seriously, hold my beer. This time, the socialism, we're going to do a brand of socialism. It's going to be kind of like interwoven between capitalism and all that other good stuff. But it's just going to be really free and really good for everybody. And it never, if it had a track record, Crane, if there was a track record for socialism that was good, wouldn't they put that first, put that in front of us first?
Yes,
but they don't.
Absolutely.
Why don't they? Because it's terrible.
Right. And well, it's horrific. I mean, it has killed millions of people, tens of millions of people, and almost up to, I think if you took the big count of total deaths of or 100 million. But I'm thinking to myself, how was this done? And I see an eerie connection between college campuses, the young movement, Maoist revolution, the Cultural Revolution in China. And you also see that in the Iranian Revolution, 79, bringing in the Islamists. And so there is a method to this horrific madness. And I think people are not confronting this aggressively unless you're people like us who are saying, let's take this thing down. But the other part of this is I would love to hear from people from former communist countries who've come over and seen the lies. It's literally an insult to their dead family members that were slaughtered under this crap.
Well, actually, Crane, we have people all the time on the Vic Porcelli show. We had Maria on with her family, and she's actually from Cuba, and she has Havana 1961 restaurant, and she told us we could hardly talk about the restaurant and the lovely food they have, only because she was so interested in getting the word out about how bad it is in Cuba. And you can tell people that, and I'm afraid that what's going to have to happen, and Dan Bongino's referred to this, it's got to get worse. You haven't really felt the pain yet. And then Vic says, yeah, but that's a big price to pay in order for people to experience this pain. And I'm like, yeah, but unfortunately, I don't know, man. It's going to happen with the young people. I'm saying it's going to have to happen for them to actually go, oh, wow. So that's what you're talking about. You mean you're not talking about the T-shirts with Che Rivera on them? And it's really cool how we can run around and get that free money. It just doesn't work that way, but they think it does.
Yeah, Carlos Santana. That's the image I see with the Che shirt.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, how can a man be so talented and yet so stupid?
Right.
And that you're putting butchers on T-shirts and selling it. And then again, it comes back to holding people to account for that. And I love the fact you're bringing on survivors of communism and the idea that somehow it's not as bad as we say it is, and that they will tweak it. Every socialist movement was going to tweak it or turn it. They were going to be the success story. Yet even though we have a history of people who supported the revolutions coming in, oftentimes were the ones killed by the very regime they put in place.
Exactly. Yeah. That's I was just going
Go
to say
ahead.
that's
Yeah.
that slide. It's that slide. It goes from Marxism to socialism to communism. It never fails. I mean, it always has to fall to communism, and then communism eventually dies a terrible death, and the people unfortunately don't benefit from anything but the horrors of it, right? I mean, that's where it ends up every single time. Again, it goes down to what's the track record of the different philosophies. What is the track record? They're all not good.
Yeah, again, they don't have W's, and you can see that in the individual life. And I think we kind of got away from what was going on in the classroom. These 60s radicals teaching and taking over academia and teaching an anti-American history. And then when we call it out for what it is, they say, you don't want to teach the evils of slavery. No, I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What are you talking about? But I'm going to apply context, and I'm going to tell you how we finally rose up and actually fulfilled our declaration. 200 years ago, we had it. We finally brought that promissory note home. And that's the thing, the idea of being patriotic. I saw over the last 20 years fewer American flags in neighborhoods. And that just bummed me out. Now, I know we had Obama, and he was awful, pardon me. And Obamonomics never worked. And he's the big racial arsonist of 2014. I digress.
I think I think it started with him in 2008. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, I think that's where it went, and where it covered and where it went was a place where you had President Obama's policies failing. And so remember, we were in the post Sharpton age, right? This is it, the election. We're not going to hear about it. The grievances, history. We're going to put history in context. This means this is a very good thing. Race relations are great. And then you have President Obama comes in, and with that promise, what does he do? Well, his economic policies fail. I remember the commercials out of 2008, 2009. Hey, we're going to rebuild this green new economy. And it used to tick me off. I'd hear like Home Depot, hey, let's get going. Let's really do this. And I'm like, this is not going to be done. You can't do this. 2 + 2 doesn't equal 5. So as enthusiastic as that comeback from the falling out of our economy was, that people were buying in because businesses are not political. They just are going and saying what's going to work, what's going to sell more of this, and they embrace it. And we saw absolute and total failure. And yet, what went? The very thing where red America and blue America in 2004, hey, we're going to be together. He doesn't see that, right? Well, bring in Sharpton, right? And I mean, that's the genesis of the race divide that we've seen, according to polls.
Yeah. When I first started hearing about with Obama and the climate change and all that stuff, it scared me, not because of the idea. I love the idea of being conservative, being conservationist or oriented. Mm-hmm. I didn't like the idea that when the sun went down, we didn't have electricity. That kind of bothered me. When the wind stopped blowing, that we couldn't have electricity. That was a concern. I was wanting to tap them on the shoulder and say,
"Hey, what concerned about that?
Yeah, what are we going to do if that happens?" And then they'd say, "Shut up. No, green is good. Green energy is good. Shut up." And that whole nasty fuel thing. And by the way, just so everybody knows, petroleum is renewable. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they had this big scare of that it was all dinosaur bones, and as soon as that's gone, it's over. It's not. It's renewing right now. Oil is regenerating as we speak under our feet. So we're good there. Let's get back to Trump and Mamdani though, because I want to ask you, Crane, what do you think is going to happen there? Do you think Donald Trump is going to appease him, or do you think Donald Trump's going to sit him down and say, "Listen, here's how this works"? And in New York and in America, regardless of who you think you are, this is how it works. I hope he says that, but what do you think?
I hope he gives him a history lesson and tells him what is good for New York and good for New Yorkers is pretty much the antithesis of what he has suggested in the way of policy. I hope he does. Here's the thing with President Trump. There's so much you can like, and there's some that you don't like. And when he's in front of people, whether it's MBS and reporters are asking questions and he comes out with basic threats, I know the press corps is awful. I get it. They're insulting, etc. But you don't have to go overboard when you're dealing with a dictator. You just don't have to do that. And that's why I oftentimes think that he's baited into things. Now, I've gone from the question being about Mamdani and the communism and what is good for New York City, because we have the Mr. New York, President Trump, the greatest political comeback story in history. And what is he going to say to now mayor-elect? And yeah, I hope he talks about, hey, look, first and foremost, you need to support your cops. And Antifa is not an idea. It's a terrorist organization, domestic terrorist organization. I think he needs to hit those things. I think he needs to defend his immigration policy, because now people are arguing against the very policy they voted for. And what really gets me is when we start solving certain problems, he doesn't get credit. And then when he goes and makes a mistake, of course, he's going to get lit up all over the place. And people conflate those two things in the sense of criticism of a policy that works and we voted for versus his, let's just say, reception of MBS. Okay. And that tells me that you shouldn't conflate those things. They're very different. When he does something great, let's talk about it. When he doesn't, we can talk about it too.
Oh yeah.
And,
no, I agree with that.
Yeah. And so what he's going to say, I think he has a great opportunity to do. He could have a Reagan Gorbachev moment in the way of educating him, putting him forth, or do what Bibi Netanyahu did to President Obama and just call him out in front of him.
See,
yeah.
No,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, because of the way Mamdani is, who he is, his history. He was involved with an unindicted co-conspirator of the 93 bombings, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, this guy, this imam or this preacher or whatever you want to call him, he's not a good man. And he's considering him as being a mentor to himself, Mamdani. I would ask him about that. We talked about what would you ask him? I'd ask him about, do you subscribe to him still? Because that guy hates America. He hates Americans. He hates anyone who's a non-Muslim. Okay. I want to know. You're the mayor of New York for all people, especially the largest Jewish population outside of Israel. What are your thoughts about these people? I would ask him, and I'm hoping that these are the questions that Trump, even off the camera, are going to ask him.
Yeah, I hope he does too. And with that, I think the audience, as you all are listening and hearing this, you can go to the Facebook page for News Talk STL and the Colombo Company, and you can put down your question. What would you ask? What do you want President Trump to ask? And we'll take a few of those on the flip side of the break. Right now, we are going to head out, but come back with more and perhaps an update on the meeting between Mamdani and President Trump. You're listening to Colombo and Company on News Talk STL.
She does everything. She loves to move. She loves to groove. She loves to...
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
It is awesome.
And listen anytime.
Love the News Talk STL app.
Anywhere.
It's a great time of year to get out into the great outdoors, and there is nobody that can help you with those activities more than the team at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton, Illinois. Open 7 days a week, about a mile east of Fast Eddie's there on East Broadway in Alton. This time of year, fishing is on fire. Hunting season is in full swing in both Missouri and Illinois. Trapping season is underway, and Bluff City Outdoors has you covered for all of those needs, all your fishing needs, all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, and more, covered by the team at Bluff City Outdoors. Also, don't forget about the Bluff City Outdoors show, which you can hear every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. here on News Talk STL with myself and Mark McMurray, the owner of Bluff City Outdoors. Also, along with taking care of all your bow hunting needs, don't forget that their archery range is open every day for you to shoot in there at Bluff City Outdoors. Learn more by following them on Facebook or at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Hey, it's Vic. If you have a tree that you think is dead, you can get Roots Plus to remove it for you. Or if you think the tree is savable, or if Roots Plus thinks it's savable, they can save your tree and you keep your cash. Call them and find out what that's all about at 314-440-3662. The crews are great. They get things done. They removed the tree for me, and they did expert work, and I definitely will put my name on their company. So save the tree with Roots Plus LLC. RootsPlusLLC.com.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show. I am here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, entrepreneurship, it's one of those buzzwords we hear a lot about, but is entrepreneurship really important to the economy?
It definitely is. Entrepreneurship is a consistent contributor to economic growth. It creates new products and services that people value. It creates the new businesses that provide them. It fosters innovation that improves productivity, and it increases beneficial competition. It generates jobs, income, wealth mobility, and even tax revenues that all support and enhance communities. Entrepreneurship matters, so we need to help it thrive in all our communities.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
Hey, Colombo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
I really like all the things you're saying.
News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you very, very much.
News Talk STL.
Get a shiver in the dark, it's raining in the
Welcome
park.
back to Colombo Company. Crane Durham sitting in for Tony Colombo. Don't worry, I'm just keeping the seat warm. In studio, executive producer of and host, co-host of the Vic Porcelli Show, Ken Williams. And we were just talking about what you would ask Mom Donnie if you were Trump, or what would you say? And I love the fact you go right to the radicalism, because the Islamists, the support for Islamic supremacy, and that being one of his mentors. And I think it actually opened up something else for me, though, Ken. And I think I'm going to share it because this is like therapy for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking about how there's a number of things that need to happen to get, to restore our great republic and get us on the path back to really abiding by the Constitution and federalism and a strong national security. And I think President Trump has done a really just amazing job national security wise doing, and continues to do that. But in the conversation, when we're talking about these radical movements, Islamists, though, as we understand, a small percentage of the Muslim community, there is still a percentage. And if somebody was going out and showing support for somebody who is a radical, who's involved, if I'm not mistaken, 1993, did you say? The bombing in 1993 of the
Yeah,
World
the
Trade
World
Center?
Trade Center
Yeah,
bombings,
Andy
yeah.
McCarthy.
Mhm.
Yeah, Andy McCarthy prosecuted that, the blind sheik. Okay. So if we see that, where is the Muslim community other than Dr. Zuhdi Jasser? Okay, I'm going to go right there. But where are Muslims going up and saying, this is not what we represent? This is not our interpretation of Islam. And because if you do this with Christianity, people going out and slaughtering people in the name of Jesus, it's not our dance. Okay.
Yeah.
So you go back and you say, okay, where do we have Muslim populations where they are the majority? Well, how are things going there? And so I think it's incumbent on people, because I believe in immigration. I know you believe in immigration. It's just the way we do it that would serve our country the very best. And I think it's 100 million people. How many people do we let in a year? 1 million people a year. Pardon me. Right?
Oh,
Million.
well, traditionally, yeah.
A
Not
million
not in
people,
the last
yeah.
4 years, though.
Right. No. And I mean, that goes to the whole another story. But I'm thinking to myself, where's the Muslim community coming out
Mhm.
and being at the forefront of this? Because they're just as American as you and me, and yet we don't have that. Why is that?
And that doesn't mean that we have to be quiet. And I think it is it has to do with the Shia and Sunni religions within the Islamic religion. We don't need to go down there.
Right. I'm
Right
just
now.
saying, if somebody were doing something like this and pushing an agenda, and I see the two things, communism and Islamism, okay, with Mamdani.
Well, they
So
kind
to
of
keep it
yeah,
in
they
there.
kind of go hand in hand a little bit.
Yes, they do. So I'm looking for people to stand up, because I put the other labels on it, or the other, if it was a different group, and people would say, hey, yeah, we'd stand up. And I know the obviously the divide when it comes to Shia and Sunni is, as you talked about it, it's such a great point. But they all come together when it comes to killing Jews and Americans.
Yeah. Well,
Go ahead.
I've cited
I'm
this
talking
story
about the
before on the
Islamists.
show,
Yeah.
and I lived with Muslims, a Muslim family who owned a property that we were renting at the time, and I loved these people. They were just so awesome. They assimilated with America. They were Americans all the way through. In fact, one of the daughters, I thought it was interesting, she wore a Star of David. They were very kind people, and that's really the exception. I don't think that's the rule of the Islam religion. I think the majority of that Islam religion is becoming radicalized. There's only one reason why they had one country, and now they're in 56 countries. And that's the thing you have to look at. It's not that they, if they were to assimilate 100% into this nation, then we would treat them as we would any other religion that was a part of the United States fabric. They're not, Crane. What's happening here, they're infiltrating from within. They're not going to war with anybody. They're doing it a different way. And what it is, it's infiltrating from inside and growing massive families. And right now, if you go to if you look at a map, look it up. I challenge anyone to look it up right now. A map of Texas and how many mosques are being built weekly in Texas. It's stunning. It will scare you. Hundreds of them right now. It's from within until finally there's such a majority that then they have no choice but to say, well, okay, I guess we're going to have to propose Sharia. When that happens, we are no longer a republic of the United States.
No, I mean, you can't have Sharia law, and you can't have honor killings, and you can't have what we're seeing, very troubling stories out of Dearborn, Michigan, and other places in Minnesota. So you got Michigan, Minnesota, you got, as you said, Texas.
Yeah.
And this is happening. And it goes back because I had I have the blessing of knowing and working with some awesome Muslim families. And as you said, you sit there and you go, wow, this is wonderful. And the very reason we can't talk about it is because we have platforms that will penalize people talking like we're talking.
Right.
At no point are we saying anything about all Muslims or, but just we're talking about the extremist element of the Islamic supremacists in the within the Muslim community, right? We're talking about them,
Yeah.
and it's very clear. Nobody's going to mistake that. But because we're talking about it, then we're going to be penalized, and that's what's happened to people over the last decade plus, as you know, and that's really hamstringing our ability to solve these problems because we can't even talk about them.
But it's such a
without-
scary
Go
thing.
ahead.
It's such a scary proposition, Crane, because you have people who are facing when the refugees, when Islamic refugees come over, they're the minority. They're needing help. So we're of course a very kind and giving country, and the people want to help them. But then it gets to a level where they say, okay, we have a voice now. You need to stop talking and saying the things that you're saying about us, or you're an Islamophobe. Ooh, and then suddenly everybody shuts up because you don't want to be called an Islamophobe. Well, I don't care. I personally don't give a damn. I really don't. You need to address what's happening. And that's not conspiracy. That is just a fact of things that are happening. You want to protect your country. You know what, Crane? The United States has the full authority and opportunity to be a sovereign nation. When we stop becoming a sovereign nation because of what's happening, then we look back on it and go, wow, we should have done this. We should have said this. Someone should have spoken up. Well, those conspiracy theorists that did, they were being shamed and being called Islamophobes, and now it's too late.
And if we were dealing with a Christian nationalist movement that was talking about breaking the wall between church and state, I know how ridiculous that is because it was a letter to the Danbury Baptists when it was separation of church and state, and it was talking about the state going into the church. But needless to say, that if we had any idea of that turning into a theocracy, we'd hear about it constantly. Oh, I think we do.
Yeah.
And yet silence and Islamophobia the other way. And I think you're right in the way of presenting that you don't care anymore. We're in the business of give us your opinion. So it doesn't matter. Well, I'm going to give you my opinion and, damn the torpedoes, whatever it is. But there is I guess, a plea to people who are on the sidelines to be engaging in this. And I think the COVID actually helped this because we saw how power was used and manipulated and people tried to silence others, and you could get the vax or not the vax. Hey, it's your business. But when you talk about mandates being based on junk science and everything else, you just saw how power works and how you can lose your freedom and how you can demonize one particular group. And the way to get around demonizing one particular group is information and having an honest discussion.
Yeah.
And that's why the history is so important about teaching American history. We have the greatest history to tell, the greatest story to tell. And yet they've turned it around, and you've got an entire generation, dare I say, 20 years of kids who have been raised with this anti-American ideology. And I think that is one of the foundations of what we are seeing today.
And I'm not stretching any truths here. If you go to New York and you see the people who are, putting down their towels for prayer and having a call to prayer in the middle of Times Square, it's happening. I mean, and then the same protest when they have protests and they're bringing out the Palestinian flags and they're saying death to America. And you have people that actually Mamdani himself said he had a mask on, but it was him. And he said, we need to make this like the state of our people. Okay, what do you mean by that? I would ask him that question. What did you mean by that statement when you were talking to Islamists and you said we need to make this the state of our people? I honestly don't think that he was talking about make it like Americans. I think he was talking about something else. Am I a conspiracy theorist then?
No, you're just actually, okay, you said this, so you're holding somebody to account for what they said to explain, because it could be interpreted certainly as a radical statement You're talking about bringing what we see in Gaza and over on the borders of Israel in the way of Islamist movements.
Well, Crane,
here.
they're coming into
Yeah.
our country.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm going to somebody else's country and saying, I'm a Christian and I'm an American. And I want you to be. You're in fact, you know what? This is your country. Forget it. You either become a Christian, American style, Western culture Christian, or else you're out. That's what's being said right now. In this country, they're having protests saying you either become Muslim, Islam, or you're an infidel. If you're an infidel, you are a second-class citizen, and you will be treated as such.
Yeah,
That's
you'll
what
get
they're
taxed.
telling. They're saying, Crane. They're saying this.
Oh, I hear you, Ken. I absolutely hear you, and it's been going on, as you know, and we've been covering it for 20 plus years, talking about this movement. But now I think we are at a critical stage. I think any stage in this is critical. But now we're in a critical stage where we see what the canary in the coal mine is over in England. And you have the anti-Semitism is off the ripping charts. We're seeing, in essence, at times, a modern Nazi movement.
Yeah.
And so it really is time for all hands on deck here to reject this crap. And I pray and hope, obviously, that those in the Islamic community who are against this stuff speak up and speak loudly and respectfully, but speak up, because we need to have a little discussion about Islamist theocracies versus constitutional republics. We can have that discussion, and hopefully Mamdani will bring that discussion in the sense of communism versus what we have in the sense of a capitalist system, but a constitutional republic, and understanding federalism works. But Ken, these are things that are not going away. They have been growing for a long time, as you know, and the only way to deal with this truly is to change the hearts and minds, or allow for the hearts and minds to hear the truth. It's all there, though.
Each country has a different stage going on. You got the UK that is experiencing a more advanced version of what we have right here today. There's a country in Africa right now that they just said they were killing. They kidnapped a whole school of Christian students today. They were Muslims. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know what they're going to do. We don't know if they're going to traffic them, kill them. They're being murdered in mass as Christians in Africa right now. I don't know what country it is, though. I'm not sure.
Nigeria?
Nigeria. It is actually
Yeah.
Nigeria. And that was a report today. It's just happening. It's not conspiracy. Just be aware of what's going on.
Yeah, it's not conspiracy, and that is certainly well said. Ken, as you come out of each and every week, my question for you, from drinking from the fire hose of news as being the executive director of the great Vic Porcelli show, I just love to hang with Vic myself. I mean, I always
he's really fun, man. He is
fun.
He is, dude.
Just, and I still, I think I'm a little fanboy of the deli, old time. But
oh yeah,
that's how it is. What do you get away from this stuff on the weekends? Do you
yeah.
Give yourself
I leave
a break?
here if I'm not doing it at home. I mean, I do a lot of stuff at home for the show. But once I'm done, I'm all family, man. I don't even when we have party. We've had a lot of parties the last few weeks, and when people come over, that's a rule. We don't talk about it. We just don't.
Yeah. Well, as we are going into the break, and Steve Templeton is going to give us an update, chief meteorologist, and make no mistake, chief meteorologist at Channel 4, and we're going to get the weather update there. Tell us what's coming in, what's going out. And we'll have much more right here on Colombo Company, News Talk STL. Thanks, Ken. Love you, buddy.
Crane Durham, you are awesome, man. Thanks.
Back at you.
21st century's yesterday. You can care all you want.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com.
So slide over here.
Jim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
What's next for the Big Apple now that Mondami will be the next mayor? We'll talk to Joe Borelli, former minority Republican leader of the New York City Council, at 5:05.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
If you are someone who is thinking about making a move or selling your home, there, of course, is no better team to call than the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway. I am once again kind of right in the middle, watching someone very close to me selling their home, buying a new home, and having great success with the process. Thanks to Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner Home Selling Team, including our very own Jamie Allman. It is a great time to sell your home still. It's very much a seller's market, but things are changing. So if this is something you've been thinking about, don't let this opportunity pass you by. Take advantage of it while you can. And of course, there's nobody better than the Wallners. That's why they're selling 15 times more homes per year than your typical home seller. That's why they have so many qualified buyers right now that they guarantee to get you an offer. They're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois. So no matter where you are in the St. Louis area, there's nobody that has the experience, the work ethic, the results that compare to Rodney and Jen Wallner and the Wallner Home Selling Team. If you're thinking about selling your home, call them now at 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner Home Selling Team.
When it comes to spending your tax dollars and teaching your kids, governments and school districts should be an open book. But in Missouri, that's not always the case. Recently, the Show Me Institute sent out a sunshine law request to school districts across the state, asking for information on whether certain topics are being taught. Specifically, a controversial one called critical race theory was included in the list. Many districts didn't respond. Some wanted to charge large fees to process the documents. Lee's Summit outside Kansas City wanted over $35,000. A rural district, Morgan County, wanted $15,000. The Sunshine Law does allow charging a reasonable fee for sending out information, but there's nothing reasonable about $35,000 or $15,000. These districts should want to be transparent about their curriculums. Taxpayers deserve to know what their kids are being taught. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
JC's Wayback Machine.
It's our Thanksgiving show this week.
Preheat the oven to 6,000 degrees.
Don't you think that's awfully hot?
Only for the turkey.
Our celebrity A-list interview of the week is with Steve Martin, talking about the great John Candy and the making of planes, trains, and automobiles. Plus, 3 hours of great songs you just don't hear on the radio anymore. All brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9. On News Talk STL. Steve Templeton's Weekend Forecast, brought to you by Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor for all your roofing needs. Visit ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER Roofing.com.
Welcome back. Colombo Company, Crane Durham sitting in for Tony Colombo, just keeping the seat warm. He'll be back on Monday. We are at the time of the show where we get to find out how the weather is going to be this weekend. And you can count on this man's forecast because he is the chief meteorologist over at Channel 4. And so, Steve Templeton, welcome. Good to be with you.
Thank you, Crane. Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be a better weekend than today. That's for sure. It's gray. It's wet. We have a chance for some more showers. There's actually a thunderstorm out west in Gasconade County, near town of Owensville, Missouri, too. So shower, thunderstorm, not out of the question as we head into the evening. It's going to dry out overnight tonight, though, and we've got a better weekend. So when you wake up in the morning, you might still have some clouds. The low's down to around 45. But in the afternoon, mostly sunny and a high of 57 degrees, light winds, really a nice Saturday. It's a little milder on Sunday, a high of 62, sunny skies, and it's going to be a great weekend to maybe put up the Christmas lights. If you want to rake leaves, maybe hold off till Sunday until those leaves dry out after all this wet weather.
So what you're just saying right there, to me, it says it's all right. You can plan to be outside if you want to be outside this weekend, but it's going to be a little damp tomorrow.
Yeah, it's still going to be damp on the ground, and then, it'll dry out eventually, but the leaves stay damp. So when you try to rake those, they're just so heavy. So give it some time. I think Sunday's a better day. But yeah, I'd say plan to be outdoors, especially if you've been cooped up inside because of the overcast skies and the occasional rain we've been having the past couple days.
Well, Steve, thank you so much. It's good to be with you. And once again, I always appreciate what you do because it's not easy when we're talking about the weather, and it impacts us all. And it's very interesting, but many of us are in the laity, like myself, and you break it down for us. And if there's ever a storm, we go and boom, right to your station. So thank you so much.
Appreciate that. Weather changes quickly. We'll stay on top of it for you. Have a great weekend.
Awesome. You too. Yeah, the heavy leaves. Not a fan of the heavy leaves, and it can make everything twice as hard. That's true. Absolutely. So we were joined by Ken Williams, executive producer and also a host on Vic Porcelli's program. And we were talking about, some pretty heavy stuff. Mamdani, Mayor-elect Mamdani from New York is going to meet with President Trump. I'm looking, and Ashlyn, if you see it up on the screen over at the Fox News or where we're looking, just let me know if we have anything live we can go to. That would be, yes, it is. Are they talking right now in front? Okay, can we pod that up?
This has very little to do with what that is.
What we did is we discussed crime more than ICE per se. We discussed crime, and he doesn't want to see crime, and I don't want to see crime. And I have very little doubt that we're not going to get along on that issue. He wants to, and he said some things that were very interesting as to housing construction. And he wants to see houses go up. He wants to see a lot of houses created, a lot of apartments built, et cetera. And, we actually, people would be shocked, but I want to see the same thing.
Mr. Montgomery, anti-Israel protesters.
Jack?
Mr. President, I want to know one of the policies as well that Mayor-elect Mamdani talked a number of times about on the campaign was shifting the tax burden for property taxes from what he called minority communities to white-based communities and putting more taxes on white people. I also noticed that in your acceptance speech, you didn't mention anything about America or Christians or white people in general. And so I didn't know if that was one of the policies that you guys had spoken about.
We focused on affordability. We focused on the cost of living crisis. What I will say is that I am very much interested in property tax reform because what we see right now in New York City is a system that is so inequitable that it can't even stand up in court. And the president and I spoke about the importance of not only building more housing, but also making sure that regulation of housing is something that is manageable to actually get through and not the cause of yet another weight that we see in our city.
Clear, you're continuing this idea of race-based property taxes.
No, to be very clear, no, the use of the term was a description of neighborhoods, not a description of intent.
So you intend to tax the whiter neighborhoods more?
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
Mr. Montgomery,
Please, go.
Mr. Montgomery, anti-Israel protesters just targeted a synagogue in New York. Are you concerned about Jewish New Yorkers feeling welcome and safe in the city? And President Trump, you've threatened to cut off federal funding to New York City. What policies would prompt you to do that? Would that be city-run grocery stores? Would it be something else?
All right, there it is. There you have it, the discussion, and certainly a lot more to talk about. Outbreaks of journalism. I kind of like that. Ashlyn, thank you. And on the flip side, we'll be back with much more. If that conference is still going, we will have some highlights for you. You're listening to Colombo Company right here on News Talk STL.
Hi, I'm Helene Tobler, culinary nutritionist at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Here we do practical wellness. Dr. Randy and I have a common sense approach to healthcare. My passion is helping our members enjoy better nutrition because food is medicine. We approach problems with a lifestyle foundation and cutting-edge medical tool chest. At Body of Health, it's about being your healthiest you. If you want to experience healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Colo Combs Attorney at Law has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. You have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs Attorney at Law. Call 636-949-0010, extension 3 today, or visit colecombs-law.com.
Hello, Kirk Elsinger, Chairman of the Republican Party, City of St. Louis. Join us for our Christmas party on December 11th. Tickets may be purchased by cash or check, or you may purchase tickets through our website at stl-gop.com. We'll have dinner and silent auction. In addition, we will be collecting donations for Toys for Tots. So bring an unwrapped toy for a family in need. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we look forward to fighting for you in 2026.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Hey, it's Susie Moore with a reminder that for 20 years, Harpo's Chesterfield has been the heart of West County's fun. With their award-winning patio, voted best in West County, and excellent sports bar atmosphere, Harpo's is your one-stop destination. The mouth-watering menu has made them famous throughout St. Louis. Plus, they've got great drink specials and the friendliest, most energetic staff around. Whether you're dining in or carrying out, Harpo's delivers fun, food, and drinks like no one else. Harpo's Chesterfield. Call 636-537-1970 or visit harposstl.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. President Trump and Zoran Mamdani holding a press conference this hour after their talks behind closed doors today at the White House. The president says he's open to meeting with the man he's described as a communist. Mamdani calling his administration repressive and authoritarian. There's some more good news on the U.S. economy.
Walmart delivered another standout quarter, posting strong sales and profits that blew by Wall Street expectations as it wins over a broad base of shoppers, including cash-strapped Americans who have grown anxious about the economy. While other retailers dialed back projections, the nation's largest retailer raised its financial outlook Thursday after its strong third quarter, setting itself up for a strong holiday season.
That is correspondent Bill Alexander reporting. The White House looking at prospects for some new offshore oil drilling off the coast of Florida and California.
Drill we must. I call it drill, baby, drill.
The government has not allowed drilling in federal waters in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, which includes Florida, since 1995 because of the possibility of oil spills. California has some offshore oil rigs, but there has been no new leasing in federal waters since the mid-1980s. Florida Senator Rick Scott, a Trump ally, wants to maintain a moratorium on offshore drilling. California Governor Gavin Newsom says expensive and riskier offshore drilling would put communities at risk and undermine economic stability. Ed Donahue, Washington.
World leaders arriving today for an historic first ever Group of 20 summit on African soil. 18 of the world's richest and top developing countries will take part in the summit this weekend in Johannesburg. Not the U.S., though. President Trump describes the summit being held there as a disgrace, considering that he is accusing South Africa's black-led government of persecuting its white Afrikaner minority. On Wall Street at the close, the Dow was up 493 points. More at townhall.com.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Progressive has great customer service, and it's easy to reach us because great and easy is the way to be. Like salads, great for you, and so easy you can put any group of veggies in a bowl and it's a salad. A full carrot with a head of cabbage, weird, but still a salad. One radish and a couple of green beans, also a salad. 14 blueberries, half an onion, and a sunchoke. Odd, yes, but an odd salad. So contact Progressive's customer service by phone, app, or online. It's great and easy, just like salad. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Overcast skies and some spotty rain through this evening. Temperatures are kind of stalled in the mid-50s under those cloudy skies. And we're looking at lows tonight in the 40s to near 50 degrees with a daytime high tomorrow in the 50s. And by Sunday, we're in the 60s with lots of sunshine over the weekend. It's going to turn colder for Thanksgiving, though. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Fox News commentary with Craig Gutfeld. Next.
I'm alpine skier Michaela Schifrin. I've won the most World Cup ski races in history. But what does success mean to me? Success means discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us. And it's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. If you're looking for success, surround yourself with the people who will get you there. If you're an advisor or investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success.
Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated. Member SIPC and NYSE.
Past performance is no indication of future results. Investing involves risk. Consult a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
Here's Greg Gutfeld.
So Congress voted to release the Epstein files, and the House 427-1, which means one guy is having an awkward day. These documents are going to be public. But what does this vote really mean, besides a few people suddenly booking one-way flights to Cuba? If this were a real Trump scandal, you would have gotten him already. It's the Dems who should worry. And do you think the Dems or the media hold any credibility after the Joe Biden cover-up or the collusion hoax, which flooded the zone with absurd rumors? The media ate it up, telling us daily that the walls are closing in. And it turned out to be nothing. So remember who you're dealing with. That's why people elected Trump the most transparent president in history. Trump made releasing these files part of his campaign. And one thing is clear, the public wants sunlight, which could mean a rainy day for Democrats.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL. Enable our Alexa skill.
Hello.
Hey, Alexa.
Yes, I'm listening.
Play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Welcome back, Colombo and Company. I feel like I'm back in the great late 80s. Who are you? What? Yes, Colombo and Company. I'm Crane Durham. I'm sitting in for Tony Colombo. Fear not, just keeping the seat warm. Great to be with you. Ashlyn, producer Ashlyn, is with us as well. She's been here the whole program, and she's here every program with Tony Colombo, and it's great to have her basically managing the tech that we have for you as well. Managing everything, actually. She's managing everything. The only thing I do is just talking to this little snowball, and she takes care of business. TCB, as Kramer from Seinfeld once said. All right, so Ashlyn, yes, okay. All right, here's the thing. I think we talked about a lot of things that were necessary to talk about with the great Ken Williams.
Agreed.
Yeah. And it's pretty heady stuff, right? I mean, it's look, we're talking about some major league problems and how we're going to solve those problems. And I'm thinking that it can happen overnight. But one of the things that would change everything is if we actually had both R's and D's more concerned with solving problems than drawing political points. What do you think?
Oh, I absolutely agree. And I think that keeping people busy and distracted is a great way to keep them from joining forces. I mean, it kind of feels like there is a puppeteer in the background.
Yeah, and when it goes to Epstein, which is an important story, but trying to throw stuff one way or another at each other, okay? And obviously, the release of those files, and we all want those files released. We want people held to account, but dealing with this and getting confidential informants and a whole host of things. People who don't want to be known, never did anything wrong, but were caught up in it. And so it's hard to do. And that difficulty, Mike Johnson faced this past week, but we have it passed. The law passed that it's going to release the documents. Do you think this will finally put an end to the Epstein story, or do you see more coming out of like, oh, we didn't get everything, so there's more that we don't know, and therefore I can basically smear my political opponents with it?
Oh, definitely think that it's going to be a smear campaign use. They're going to try to milk it for as long as they can to get a distraction or something out of it that can sway people.
Yeah, and again, it's a distraction that is. People would say, "Hey, it's an important story." Yes, it is, but we could, if we had the honest people going, and I'm not saying that with judgment in the sense of I'm not looking in my eye and pulling the plank out of the mainstream media's eye, but I am calling it out for a second here. I am saying they are so dishonest, and they've been dishonest for so long, and now their entire purpose is to get Trump out of office or hurt President Trump. And rather than saying, okay, hey, president said this today, here's the reaction, both sides. It's not hard to have President Trump say something that most Americans absolutely 100% agree with. And an hour later, he says something that most Americans absolutely disagree with. It's Trump. It's him. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of Trump. And that's what happens. Now, a lot of times over policy-wise, I share a lot with him. I support him in that way. But when he goes off the reservation and says something I don't believe in, it's all right to call that out.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so a part of this is saying, okay, we're going to put the emotion in check, and we're just going to call it like it is, and we can have our opinions one way or another. But here's another problem. Mentioning the Epstein story. The politicians making hay out of that. They'll make hay out of anything. And with this, they are just speculating. There's really nothing too new that we're finding here. But you do have a White House that dropped the ball with Pam Bondi, Attorney General Bondi. Awful. I just don't think she's doing a very good job. That's me. And actually, I know she's not doing a very good job. Okay. So that's caused some confusion. But people are willing to exploit it. None other than Jasmine Crockett, representative from the great state of Texas. And she was weighing in on Epstein. She actually went to the floor of the House. And if we could start podding that up, and went to the floor of the House and talked about how a release of information shows that Jeffrey Epstein was a contributor to these campaigns. And she named pretty much all Republicans. And then after that, it was found out that
money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Okay, there you go. Go ahead, pot it up. Yeah.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor that doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people that
Listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein, just so that people understand when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein. So at least I wasn't trying to mislead people. Now, have I dug in to find out who this doctor is? I have not. So I will trust and take what he says is that it wasn't that Jeffrey Epstein, but I was not attempting to mislead anybody. I literally had maybe 20 minutes before I had to do that debate.
Yeah, but people might see that and say, well,
that response, okay, all right, pot it back down if you don't mind, and pardon me, asinine and absolutely deceitful. and she brings up a charge, throws the mud, and then she goes, "Oh, it could be any Jeffrey Epstein." I wasn't doing that. I was just talking about Jeffrey Epstein because I had to rush to Google and figure it out and get it out there in order to smear somebody. Okay. And that's what our politics have become. Many have become people that are more interested getting on YouTube or Instagram or the Facebook and the Facebook. Yes, I'm that old. And rather, or TikTok, and score a political point rather than actually serve their people and work on the problems that we have and make their case about those issues. And it just is awful. I don't know how she looks herself in the mirror after that one. Ashlyn, what do you think?
Yeah, that's it. When you get caught in a lie, just admit it. It really
Yes.
shows your character when you don't.
Mhm.
And so I think this is just a pretty bad look on her end.
I love the fact you brought out character. So important. And I remember years ago, and this is way back, when the question was asked, does character matter? And it was about Bill Clinton, who incidentally, Jeffrey Epstein had a painting of Bill Clinton in a dress. Okay, I don't know. And I'm not talking about the Dr. Jeffrey Epstein in New York. Okay. All right. But it does character matter, and it absolutely does matter. And these issues being talked about where people think, hey, we're going to go with a news cycle where we can smear, and then we'll, if we're called on it, we'll lie about it and it'll be okay. But we'll act like we're the victims. And that's another thing that I think is hitting us big time, the victimology. And I mentioned last hour about what we have seen in race relations. And I don't like talking about race relations. Some of you might want to. I don't, because it's just, people are people. We're unique and we're all different shades. And, we all have that red blood and the same blood under our skin. And so understanding that, and I'm thinking of, I'm blanking on her name, but she is a king related to Martin Luther King, and I've interviewed her even, but she has a wonderful verse from the Bible discussing this. But the point is, I see people as people, and I think the vast majority of us all do. I just do. And when we see something that's on race and talking about racism, well, if it's a story that needs to be reported, absolutely. But what we have seen is the exploitation of this and putting it in policy to penalize people like DEI. And that's what we're up against. So as we look and be judged on our character, which is the most important thing, on our merits, you still have people wanting to put in a system that makes it about something, an immutable trait rather than an actual skill set or an expertise. And that's hurting us all. Because I truly believe that race relations are pretty good when we talk about things in the sense of, hey, we're not going to be groups. Let's talk about this. I think what makes them bad, it's the victimology, always going to race. And if somebody told me in 2014 that we would be here in 2025, 11 years later, after Michael Brown, and Michael Brown was a lie, I'd say, well, that was a lie. So why would it get much fanfare anyway? Because if you tell the truth, you see this is not systematic. If you look at the numbers, it's not systematic. We talk about the use of lethal force against Black men by white officers. It's not systematic. Statistically, you can't make the case that it is. The War on Cops, Heather McDonald wrote a book about it. The point is, if we look at it for what it is, it's a lie. And yet it's the lie that divides us. And we have seen a entire industry, organizations come out of that, BLM coming out of that. And the teaching of oppression. Now that exists, oppressor, oppressed, pardon me. And that existed before, no doubt, but critical race theory, which was part of President Obama's background, go back in 2008, we were talking about these things. This is what's happening. So what we're doing is, if we really want to restore America, don't we have to be honest of what is and what makes us great, which is actually the melting pot and not the salad bowl that we all assimilate and we believe we're equal under law and we're not going to judge each other that way in the sense of race or gender. I think that's really important. I think it's going to be really hard to do, though, if we still have people advocating for men to play women's sports because they say they're a woman. And in essence, promulgating mental illness. And if we can't talk about those things because we had this deplatforming of so many, I think we can talk about it. But if we throw out the idea that, hey, Islamophobe, whatever, phobeist, whatever, you know what you believe, you can defend it. And we take the power away from the people saying it. And that's so important. Because when there is actual racism or anti-Semitism, which is there, and it's evidenced, they're number one as victims of hate crimes. And you say, well, that just happened. No, there's been a dramatic increase, but it's always been. You would say, no, that can't be right because I hear about Islamophobia so much. You see, also, when it comes to race, you'll see the hoaxes that were done over the years. And they were very much a moment where the mainstream media would cover it, and then the truth would take some time to get its shoes on, while the lie made it around the world. And then the story that actually said it was a hoax gets less coverage than the big headline, hey, there's racism. And so there's this thing that we're doing here at News Talk STL, and I think conservatives in America, all generations, are saying, let's have the honest discussion. And that's why when we're sitting there looking at President Trump and Mamdani, mayor-elect, we're like, okay, I want to hear what they have to say. I want to know what's going on. By the way, are they still up? Are they still going? Or not? No. Okay. So, but coming back to that, people want to know. They also want debate. It's really important to have more debates. What happened on college campuses? They intimidated people and they made it a security threat. The costs couldn't be covered because you had a left wing in this country dedicated to silencing those who disagree. And another way we're going to get our republic back on track is to have those debates. And I was once told by the mainstream media, nobody really watches debates. No, everybody watches debates when the vast majority of people watch the debate when they know it has two ideologically different. And you think, okay, they're going to go at each other and they're going to challenge each other. And the mainstream media has tried to ruin that too by actually, going 2-1 on the conservative or the Republican or both, oftentimes, as we saw with President Trump. So President Trump, and this brings me to President Trump and his response to the video made about following a direct order and not following an order that is unlawful made by Democrats. And you'll hear a lot about this, and then you'll hear the president's response. And the rhetoric in both is awful. And I'm not going both sides here. I would say initially the Democrats knew what they were doing. I think they were baiting the president, and the president responded. And what got the coverage? The president's response, not so much what they were accusing the president of. And they were saying, hey, you don't have to follow this guy, this president. with an unlawful order. Those of you serving in the armed forces, you do not have to do that. When challenged about that statement, because they did the montage thing and they completed each other's sentences and they came out. When challenged, if they knew of a direct order that was unlawful that President Trump made, they couldn't come up with one. They did reports of conversations and very, really weak sauce case. But that wasn't the story on the vast majority of news outlets. No, the story was President Trump's response and the heated rhetoric. Yeah. And the statements. And some people have even gone so far as to say, is this traitor? Is this treason? What happens in treason and everything else? I will just say this. I was not a fan of the initial by the Dems, but I was not a fan of President Trump's response. I thought he could have handled it in a much better way. And here I am on the radio talking to you, and he's president of the United States. But here's what I mean. You can actually look at this and say, really, Democrats started it and awful over the line with a baseless charge. And then you can go and say the response is not something that's going to bring people together by telling the truth. It's going to raise the heat of the political discussion. And I thought after Charlie Kirk, we were going to lower that. And I think you can lower that temperature by still telling the truth about just how ridiculous a false charge is, and make that the focus as opposed to including rhetoric that talks about the deaths of people that are committing treason. Now, you may disagree, but I think where we're going here is what's the outcome that we want? You have a dishonest group of people making a false charge. That's to me, politically, just speaking politically, that is a big softball that you can knock out of the park, and you can make your point and advance your ideology by doing that. And these opportunities present themselves, and it's the way we respond. So a lot there, I know, a lot to get to, a lot there. What we're going to be doing in the next segment is a departure from what we just did. And yes, more Ashland. Yes, we're going to have more Ashland. Yes, absolutely. This is Colombo Company. But we're going to talk turkey. And your Thanksgiving Day holiday, what do you do? I'm just going to say this, a little tease. I can't stand turkey and stuffing and cranberry junk. I love Thanksgiving, but I can't stand that. How about you? Colombo Company, News Talk STL.
Follow Tony Colombo on Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk. If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
And listen anytime, anywhere.
You guys hear Mike McCleary, our AI big tech expert here on the show with me every week. Mike is a great guy that has built a great local business, Intervine, and Intervine.com, that of course makes the best flashlights, lanterns, and headlamps available on the market this time of year, with so many outdoor activities in full swing, hunting and trapping and fishing. If you need that heavy duty, sort of more hardcore industrial lantern or flashlight, they've got you covered at Intervine. And if you just need a smaller, reliable flashlight that fits in a drawer of your home or the glove box of your vehicle, they have those products for you as well. And you can get everything at Intervine.com right now for 25% off just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, even batteries in all different sizes. With the holidays coming, great idea just to stock up on batteries at an unbelievable price. Again, just use my name, Tony, Tony, as your promo code for 25% off everything at Intervine, Intervine, Intervine.com.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
This is, of course, going into the season where we should all take time to be thankful, to actually count all the blessings we have for our family and for others. Of course, there may be those among you and your family that it's not so great this year. Look around. Do you see someone else suffering more than you? You don't have to look hard. You just have to be open to someone else's need. Of course, we all live lives on a fast pace now, running this way and running that way, upside down, turned around. But do you ever stop? I mean, actually stop and start counting your blessings. If you have more than one, you have more than many will ever have. That's the way the blessings are and the way the blessings should be considered. It's also wise to keep in mind what's been said about prayer, to thank God for the prayers he's answered for you, and to also thank God for the prayers he did not answer in the way that you wanted them answered.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
John Beal knows that right after a hailstorm, new roofing companies start popping up everywhere. But the Small Business Administration reports 96% of them go out of business within the first 5 years. So how good is that warranty? John Beal started in the roofing business, helping his granddad and his dad. Always offering the best roof, best price, best guarantee. John Beal Roofing, not some fly-by-the-night operation. Call my friend John, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
Chris Cooper here, Serenity Wealth Management, and November is Long-Term Care Awareness Month. It's a great reminder to put plans in place for the care we and our loved ones deserve. We deserve it. We need to make sure we put plans in place accordingly. It is the conversation we will have this Sunday featuring special guests Megan and Lisa of the Avalon Parks Independent Living Communities. Sunday morning for Serenity Wealth Now, or check us out on Serenity Wealth Now social media outlets.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
So I hear an out-of-towner asking someone, where's the best place to eat? Before they could respond, I said, Cafe Napoli. Where? Well, I said, Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C, and then you got Napoli Kirkwood, plus you got Napoli Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield. You'll find Napoli everywhere. It's not too early to book a party and buy gift cards. Cafe Napoli.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story of the Great Rattlesnake Roundup.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Oh, yeah. They didn't have auto-tune. They played their own instruments. They wrote the lyrics. Wow! Love it. Welcome back. That was a little self-indulgent there, Crane. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. But I love the 80s. Thank you. We won the Cold War. Remember that? Yeah. Today it's taught as Gorbachev, actually won the Cold War for humanity. But no, Reagan forced him because Gorbachev was still a communist. He thought what Mamdani thought by the end of his life, thinking, oh, we can make this stuff work. We just didn't do it right. Yeah. So definition of insanity there, doing the same thing over and over again. Now we're taking calls, and somebody and Ashlyn, producer Ashlyn, has also joined us. And so, Ashland, just let me know if we've got a call in the line, and we'll take the calls. We've covered a lot of ground today. Wait, it's been a long show, has it? Yes, it has. It's a good long show. It's a great way to spend the afternoon. And Tony Colombo and Company, you get it all. And sometimes people agree, sometimes they disagree, but that is America. Thank you, Jesus. All right. So if you're calling in, go ahead and we'll take it. We'll do what we can. And another part of this is, why would people want to call in? I think it's because you're responding to what I said, possibly about race relations and what has happened. The fact that we can have a couple opinions of saying, hey, good Trump, bad Trump. And I think it's my job. That's my job. I got to tell my honest opinion. Yes. Yes. Okay. All right. Put it bottom up. Michael, are you there?
I am here.
Welcome. Great to be with you. Thank you for your phone call. What's on your mind?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was just calling. I was trying to call when you were talking about Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, and I think what happened with her and what she did is unfortunate. And I'll just tell you, I'm a state rep, and she definitely made a mistake. There's no question about that. But these things do happen relatively quickly, and you have your staff try to gather things up and get you the right information. And clearly that did not happen in that situation. But I think there is a difference in knowingly, lying and also making a mistake. And I just think that's something to keep in mind. I mean, and we probably disagree a lot on the political spectrum, but when President Trump tells us that our grocery prices are down and energy prices are down and we don't have inflation, those are actual lies that he says on a daily basis, and he knows they're not true. And that kind of bothers me a little more.
I think that is a great example. And I appreciate that, Michael. Stay with us, because what I saw was line by omission by Jasmine Crockett's response to being called out on what I believe she knowingly did. And
I haven't seen her response yet.
Yeah, her response was that she wasn't talking about the Jeffrey Epstein. It could have been any Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. So that's weak sauce. But I also hear
I'm with you
when
there.
it comes
I'm
to,
with you there.
Yeah. And I hear you when it comes to affordability. After tariffs, costs have gone up when we've seen inflation, not near on the scale as it was with President Biden, but now it's this term, and we're dealing with that, and we're dealing with the impact of the idea of lowering interest rates, which does increase. If you're trying to fight inflation, you don't lower interest rates, and tariffs are basically a tax. And so I think President Trump does do the game of playing, hey, eggs are down, gas is down. He could be right about those specifics. But if we look at the overall economy and we see the prices and we see the costs, they're still going up. And by the way, it's going to be time before those come down, even with the right policies totally in place. It'll help. The right policies will help. But I like the fact you called it out on both sides.
I just think he should, I think it would serve him best just to be honest with the American folks. And it would, we just all need to be more honest with our rhetoric, and also do our own part in taking things down, like you were talking about. I disagree with you on not enjoying a turkey and cranberry sauce. I don't like the stuffing, but all the other stuff is good. So I disagree with you on that one, but I appreciate you taking my call.
Hey, I appreciate you, Michael. And this just reminds me of being on at midnight at times when back in the day, and having the opportunity to talk to people like you who are calling in and we're sharing and we're disagreeing, and we could do that throughout. But at the same time, we can have a conversation.
We can still get along. That's right.
Amen. Amen. Hey, great
Right
to
on.
hear from you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Have a good one.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
You too. You too. And see, that's what I love. I used to get a lot of, back in the day, I'm Ron Burgundy. I was a big deal. No, back in the day, I would be out in St. Louis, and it would be after I did a Donnybrook, and people would come up to me and they would say, I can't stand what you say. I disagree with everything, but I appreciate the way you say it. And it was the biggest compliment, because that's where we can have a discussion. And that's what we did. You know, Ray Hartman, who is a lifelong friend now and just a great guy. I totally disagree with him on things, but we have these discussions, and it's so important to do that. And I know, am I doing kumbaya? Yeah. No, I am saying that we're all Americans, and we got assimilation is so important. But when it comes to the Turkey Day dinner or brunch or afternoon, I'm not going to assimilate when it comes to that. I don't like turkey. I don't like stuffing. And how about you? How about you? Looking at this, producer, as you were saying earlier, and it was important, but Ashlyn, as you were talking about, do you like the traditional meal on Thanksgiving?
People are going to get really mad at me for this, but I do not like turkey. I'll eat stuffing maybe, but I'm a sides girl. Like, I want the mac and cheese and the sweet potatoes and corn and things like that.
Okay, you got me with sweet potatoes. Just don't candy them up, but you got me there. I like that.
Candy yams, Crane?
No candy yams. It's too sweet.
Sometimes, yes.
Yes, sometimes it is true. But I got news for you. Ashlyn and I have come together on a particular meal that should be offered at every Thanksgiving because it's so good. And that is, Ashlyn, what is it?
It is mac and cheese.
And lasagna.
Oh my goodness. And definitely the lasagna.
Definitely the lasagna. Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Tony is back Monday. Ashlyn, great talking with you, and you do an awesome job. Thank you. Thank you, News Talk STL. Crane Durham, this is Colombo Company.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com. Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
For over half a century, Joe Bacardi's has been serving up a little taste of Italy right here in St. Louis. Family owned since 1971, we're more than just a restaurant. We're a local landmark. With 4 convenient locations, we offer something for everyone, from our famous pizzas to mouth-watering entrees and delicious salads. Dine in with a glass of wine or grab a quick carryout. Whether it's dinner for 2 or catering for a crowd, Joe Bacardi's has you covered. Visit joebacardis.com and join our loyal